At 19, William had already led an eventful life. Gap year behind him, he was determined to continue his quest for normality, and shunning the traditional Oxbridge route, he enrolled at St Andrews University on the east coast of Scotland.
The small university town of St Andrews had never seen anything like it. Prince William greeted like a local hero as he arrived with his father.
And it was about to live up to its reputation as Britain's top matchmaking university.
His main concern was the size of the swimming pool because he was into water polo at the time. I also informed him that St Andrews was full of beautiful and very bright young women, and I'm sure that's what clinched it. We suddenly got a flood of applications from American women wanting to come and study at St Andrews University.
Most of those were wealthy Americans who were determined to come over, get a place at St Andrews and bag their prince.
Desperate to be left in peace to study, an historic agreement was put in place between the palace and the media.
The decision from the beginning was to treat him as much as an ordinary student as you could, the heir to the throne, one removed.
The press would be allowed to cover his arrival at St Andrews University and his graduation 4 years later. And in between those 2 points, over those 4 years, he and his university life were absolutely out of bounds.
When we did this agreement, I never thought it would stick, because I know the British media, and they can't help themselves. And to my astonishment, it stuck.
And we were all strictly warned that if we were found to have spoken to the press, we would be expelled from the hall and possibly expelled from the university.
He even took a place in a hall of residence, St Salvator's, known locally as Sally's.
He was treated very normally from almost the moment he arrived, which maybe was part of the fact of it being such a small community. It was almost quite protective around him, and it felt privileged to have him there. He was allowed to go to Tesco's, go to Safeways, walk back and forth from the library, and no one batted an eyelid, and certainly even in the hall of residence. After the initial excitement, you know, the first time he came into the dining hall for breakfast.
It's so good because everyone sees me around the whole time, and it's no big deal, which is what I really want it to be. You know, the last thing I want to do is cause loads of, you know, hype or problems. I just want to go in there and get my asparagus or whatever. So it's really worked well.
I think we all were starstruck. Everyone was trying to, you know, not show it too much for his sake.
He's a very normal, very down-to-earth kind of guy, and you know, he's sort of easily mistaken for just being another sort of one of your mates, which he was really. His sort of position and his title didn't really mean anything. He was just one of the lads. Which I think comes from not having to advertise his poshness. Everyone knows who he is.
I value more than anything the normality that I can get, and just doing simple things and doing, you know, normal things rather than, you know, getting things done for me.
In the first few days at Sally's, he was to meet an attractive fellow student called Kate Middleton.
I was in the room next door to Kate Middleton in first year. She was known as Beautiful Kate almost from day one. She certainly became very good friends with William and his friends from Eton very quickly. They seemed to form a very tight group.
Will and Kate, I guess, were able to become friends, and because Kate was in the same year and in the same hall, they were able to kind of develop their friendship.
And in terms of, you know, their social life, they went to some of the more upmarket bars in St Andrews. Mabel's was a popular drinking location for them, also known as Yabel's in St Andrews. And I remember seeing the two of them at the bar and him pinching her bottom. And that was the first time I remember thinking, well, they're definitely a couple then. I can remember Kate having to be carried back to her room by one of the Eton boys because she couldn't walk and she, you know, she was paralytically drunk, as we all were during that week. And on another occasion, I remember William coming back, I think after celebrating the end of his exams, and falling into a bush outside Sally's and having to be retrieved by his bodyguards.
March 2002, and Kate was asked to model in the Don't Walk charity fashion show. William took his place in the audience and was about to see Kate in a whole new light.
and she was on the catwalk and looked amazing, and suddenly this sort of butterfly emerged from the chrysalis.
And when Kate came out dressed in this amazing see-through dress and, you know, her lingerie, William just, I mean, his eyes popped out and he turned to his friend and he said, wow, Kate's hot.
Romance blossomed, and during their second year at St Andrews, they shared a flat in Hope Street. But William had learnt at some cost that publicity can put pressure on a relationship, and the press didn't find out for another 18 months.
The girl, said to be the Prince's first serious girlfriend, is Kate Middleton. She is a flatmate of the Prince at St Andrews.
1 year later, in June 2005, when William had just turned 23, they both graduated.
William Wales.
With a very special guest in attendance.
She was there as Will's grandmother, really, to see that special day. It was the culmination of 4 years at St Andrews, and I think she was very proud of him.
He got a 2-1 when he did very well, so he's, I suppose, seen as the sort of modern brains of the royal family.
And I remember walking out of the graduation hall and there being an unbelievably large bank of photographers. And suddenly it brought home to everybody the time of Will being protected in this sort of bubble was over, and that all the speculation would probably begin.
And begin it did. Later that year, William began his forces training at Westbury in Wiltshire, and then subsequently at the Sandhurst Military Academy. Meanwhile, Kate had moved down to London and got her first taste of what life is like as a royal. Her every move now the subject of press speculation.
There's intense media scrutiny on Catherine down in London, and I think that was very difficult for them because their relationship had to change and adapt to that, and I think it was very hard for both of them.
When he joined the Blues and Royals, and he was moved down to Bovington, where he was based at barracks there, I think it was probably the first real major test.
On Kate's 25th birthday, she had to run the gauntlet of cameras packed onto the street outside her flat.
You would see hundreds of paparazzi and press photographers outside her home, which was very difficult for anyone trying to make their sort of way. It was almost as if whatever she did, whether she went to work or didn't want to go to work, she would be scrutinised and almost hounded. Prince William did not take very kindly to this, and that was when we started to see the royal family, driven by Prince William on this, starting to take action against the press and against pursuit and harassment by photographers of Catherine.
But it wasn't just Kate who needed protection from the press. William's social life was also making headlines.
I don't think anyone could really blame William. I mean, he was part of the Blues and Royals household cavalry, known as the Booze and Royals, and he was having a great time. Unfortunately, pictures of him on a podium dancing with a pretty blonde, they emerged, and William looked like he was having far too much fun, certainly to Kate, who called the shots and said, well, you can't have it both ways, and that was when he said, well, then we're going to take a break.
I, at the time, wasn't very happy about it, but actually it made me a stronger person. You find out things about yourself that maybe you hadn't realised, or I think you can get quite consumed by a relationship when you're younger, and you know, I really valued that time for me as well, although I didn't think it at the time. It's not all bad.
I think she conducted herself brilliantly when William dumped her, because she had all those headlines and everything, but she just got on with her life.
And then she went to a few parties in London, in hot pants, for charity, all those lovely events, and I think William must have seen what he was missing.
But she did not make a fool of herself, and crucially, she did not talk to the press. And I think William very soon realised that actually he'd made a bit of a mistake here, and went and wooed her back.
Wembley Stadium, the 1st of July 2007. By now, William was aware that along with the obligations public life brings, there are also privileges. As part of their charities forum, William and Harry staged a fundraising concert on what would have been their mother's 46th birthday, calling on pop and rock royalty to take part.
We decided that it's going to be called Concert for Diana, because obviously the evening is going to be purely about her. And as we both want to make sure, first and foremost, the evening is for her. It's to remember her and to commemorate her life and celebrate it.
Tickets, of course, were like gold dust.
We've got to be very good and ask Santa very nicely.
Or ring his mobile.
Or ring my
They are fantastic on their own, but when they come together and work together, that's a real powerful force.
And rumour has it, the concert was also the catalyst for the reunion of William and Kate.
The first time we saw them back together again was at the Diana concert. William was at the front row with Harry and Kate was a couple of rows behind, actually with her brother. It was a memorable and poignant moment when Take That was singing Back for Good and Kate was seen swinging her hips and singing along to the lyrics, and I suppose that was all anyone needed to know, that they were back for good.
They had their break, thought, hang on a minute, don't think we like this, got back together again, and I think that bodes very well for the future.
Coming up, the most anticipated royal wedding in 30 years.
It was bubbling, crackling with excitement and glee.
First and foremost, Prince William, he is a serviceman.
Well, when you're flying along at night in Snowdonia and other mountains and you've got 40-knot winds, and basically hope that, you can actually get there and help.
And duty calls again for William.
Just looked at my brother and said, that was Prince William.
16th of November 2010, the news the nation had been waiting for. 28-year-old William announces his engagement to Kate Middleton.
The announcement has ended months of speculation. They say they'll marry next spring or summer.
And I'm sure that the whole country will want to pass their very best wishes to the happy couple and wish them an incredibly long and happy life together.
And on the day the engagement is announced, they give an exclusive interview.
I'd been planning it for a while, but as every guy out there will know, it takes a certain amount of motivation to get yourself going. So I took her up somewhere nice in Kenya and proposed.
Very romantic. There's a true romantic in that.
There is.
Kate was natural, he was supportive, but at no point did it look like he was attempting to manipulate what she was saying. They were both really honest.
We were out there with friends and things, so I really didn't expect it at all. I thought he might have sort of maybe thought about it, but no. It was a total shock when it came, and very excited.
We heard Catherine speak publicly for the first time, which again is incredible. And you think about how discreet she was over 10 years in that relationship.
When he finally proposed, it was with Diana's diamond and sapphire engagement ring, certainly enough to bowl Kate over.
I'd been carrying it around with me in my rucksack for about 3 weeks before that, and I literally would not let it go. Everywhere I went, I was keeping hold of it, because I knew this thing, if it disappeared, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
One doesn't want to think what would happen if that rucksack somehow went missing.
So I thought it was quite nice, because obviously she's not me around to share any of the fun and excitement of it all. This was my way of keeping her sort of close to it all.
I just hope I look after it.
Yeah. She loses,
but no,
she's in big trouble.
It's very, very special.
It was a hugely moving personal decision, and he did it because he wanted his mother to be part of the wedding and part of their happiness.
As the wedding day drew closer, the royal machine began to swing into action. But behind the scenes, William and Kate wanted a break with tradition and to do things their way.
Initially, Buckingham Palace had drawn up a very extensive guest list of, I think, over 700 names of heads of states, kings and queens around the world.
He then went to the Queen and said, is this really the way it's going to be? And she said, no, rip that up, invite who you want.
Let's do it your way. You invite your friends.
Finally, on the 29th of April 2011, the most anticipated royal wedding in 30 years was upon us, and a third of the world's population sat down to watch.
It was the most extraordinary atmosphere. It was sort of full of love, life, emotion. Although it was a very big occasion by the amount of people, it felt like just a very big family wedding.
It was bubbling, crackling with excitement and glee.
It was an amazing mix of, yes, state occasion, incredibly formal, incredibly grand, but actually a lot of personal touches. The hymns, the prayers, the flowers, all chosen by the bride and groom.
For a royal couple, even a private tenderness becomes a public expectation.
I know we've all had a bit of a fumbling kiss here and there.
Everyone kind of went, oh, that was it.
Beautiful kiss, worked really well. oh, you're going to go for it again.
So later on, he went back in for another one. So we got 2 kisses on that day.
Once again, you know, the perfect break with tradition.
That was the page 1 picture. And of course it happened, and I got this, I not only got the kiss, I got the lips coming like closer and closer and closer, and then the kiss.
Like many other newlyweds, they made their escape in a balloon-decked vintage car, complete with learner plate, even if this one was biofueled and owned by Prince Charles.
And they come out in this Aston Martin, and everyone just went wild, and it was amazing. That's the kind of thing that my friends did at their weddings, and, you know, something that we can all relate to.
And I would have thought his father would have certainly said, you know, don't prank that. That was what we do best as a country. That, yes, there were 2 young people getting married, doing it as much as they possibly could their way, but look at what we can do.
After a huge global event, they returned to their private life in Anglesey. William serving as a search and rescue helicopter pilot, and Kate living as a homemaker, albeit one who has royal duties to perform.
I think the decision to serve at RAF Anglesey is absolutely evidence of Prince William's desire to lead as normal a life as he can as possible in extraordinary circumstances. He is a member of the royal family, but he is also, first and foremost, Prince William. He is a serviceman.
While they do embrace the public aspect of their roles, I think they love the moments when they can just go home and they can close the door and they can just be completely themselves.
He works his shifts like any other one of the guys on the base, and he is just one of them, and his wife is one of, when she's down there, an army wife.
Search and rescue is a massive important part, and all you need to do is ask that all the people who've been helped. I think they're the ones who could give you a better answer. But certainly from my point of view, having witnessed it for the last few months, I'm incredibly proud to be amongst the search and rescue guys, and very privileged to be flying with some of the best pilots, I think, in the world.
I mean, I've been very lucky to talk to him about his time as a pilot, and it is quite obvious that this is a passion, but there is this sense of excitement and also of achievement as well, because he's plucking people out of the sea in incredibly, and I think it was his word, challenging conditions.
Well, when you're flying along at night in Snowdonia and other mountains and you've got 40-knot winds, the clouds down to about 200 feet, and you're trying to get through to find someone who's either broken their leg or is lost on the hill, it gets quite interesting. You have to use all 4 of you, put your brain power together and your skill, and basically hope that, you know, you can actually get there and help.
William's skills were called into action when Richard Lloyd found himself in a life or death situation whilst out walking in Snowdonia National Park.
My foot slipped on a wet rock, and I went over very, very awkwardly and fell over and started screaming in pain because I knew something was very seriously wrong. People who know the Welsh mountains, the weather closes in very, very quickly. The clouds were coming in. I was having a few problems near the end. I was literally sort of shivering like this, you know, when they actually came for me. We just heard a like that, and the helicopter didn't appear from the sky. It actually came up from behind one of these rock faces, like Airwolf or something. It was spectacular, and I just remember feeling, oh goodness, what have I done? When they winched us in, it was one fluid movement. You just go straight into it, you know, and they buckle you in and off you go.
When I spotted that it was Prince William, it was immediately it was shock and slight disbelief. I kept having a little peep to see whether it really was. And though he was also being discreet, you could tell that it was Prince William.
Richard was airlifted to hospital where he received immediate medical attention.
Well, I ran up to the stretcher where they'd taken him to the ambulance, and I just looked at my brother and said, "That was Prince William."
I've got so many sort of jealous comments, especially from women.
So, in many respects, he has it all. A job he loves, a beautiful wife, and an idyllic life in Anglesey. And he intends to keep it that way. For now.
They want to lead a normal life as long as possible, and they should be entitled to do that. And I don't think there's any pressure from anywhere in the royal household for them to give that life up before they need to.
William has now come to terms with duty and his destiny. As second in line to the throne, He knows the time will come when he has to take the top job. And with Catherine by his side, this is the couple who will define the future of the British monarchy.
I think William and Kate have seen and steered the monarchy and the royal family into so much calmer waters.
I thought William didn't even want to be a member of the royal family. In fact, I distinctly got the impression that he hated anything to do with the attention and the intrusion. But now I know that he's just perfect for this job.
He's probably everything we could possibly ask for in a prince and a future king.
I think Diana would be thrilled. She knew when she gave birth what his destiny was. And I think that perhaps as she looked at the way he's played it, the wife that he has, the life that they've got, she'd probably think, yeah, that's pretty cool.
It all looks pretty damn good.
And as the big 3-0 approaches, we salute the man who went from inquisitive young boy to reluctant prince, maturing into a skilled serviceman and the self-assured Duke of Cambridge.
If I was going to say anything of his 30th birthday, I think I'd probably say I hope they give you a couple of days off, sir.
Congratulations, 30 is a milestone year. Keep going because what you're doing is great and it's working.
Carry on as you are now, because your mother would be proud of you, your dad is proud of you, your grandparents are proud of you, and I think the nation is actually proud of you too.
Euro 2012 kicks off tomorrow night with a Group A match, Russia versus the Czech Republic. Coverage starts at 7:15 here on ITV1. And on that note, join Jason Manford and fellow comedians as they discuss why England shouldn't win. Eurogeddon on ITV4 in just a moment. Or stay with us for the national news next.